Hey folks, this is Courtney from Ruby Red Farm. Today's video is going to take you through two different methods of harvesting lettuce. It is a bright, beautiful morning here in East Central Indiana. We are out here nice and early to harvest this lettuce, as that is the best time of day to harvest lettuce. And after speaking with my mother-in-law last night, I realized a lot of people are not familiar with what we call the cut and come again method for harvesting lettuce. So I want to show you guys how we harvest lettuce to extend its life and get the most bang for our buck. If you haven't yet, please make sure to go hit like and subscribe. Comments also help us out a ton. So this kind of quirky little patch down here is our lettuce patch. Brandon built us a little bit of a hoop structure to put some shade on it, and I will be putting that on very quickly as it's going to get up to 90 today. Let me show you though how I harvest both our larger lettuces and our smaller lettuces in a way that keeps us coming back for more. So on your larger romaine type of lettuces, you typically are going to get the center leaves kind of folding in and then the outer leaves taking a little bit of a more outward path. When it comes to harvesting lettuce, you essentially have two strategies here. One is just to cut the entire thing off at the base, and when you do that, it's done. That's the only harvest you're going to get out of that particular lettuce plant, and then it frees up the ground that you can plant more sooner. So there are pros and cons to that method. We prefer the cut and come again method though, because we feel responsible for trying to extend the harvest of this one plant as long as possible. Now we're not going to take it to the point where it's really bitter and gross, but we usually have found we can get about 2 to 3 really good cuts, if not more, off of each plant and still have nice, crisp, sweet tasting lettuce. So I'll show you from this angle and then I'll zoom in and show you guys a little more closely. But for the cut and come again method, you're trying to focus on just these outer leaves. You're going to leave the central ones in place and not mess with those. For the outer leaves though, I have found that if you kind of peel them back a little bit, almost hold it like you're holding someone's hair in a ponytail. If you got little kids, you know what I'm talking about. And then you're going to take either scissors or a knife. I should not be trusted with a knife, and so I definitely prefer scissors. It is still possible to cut yourself. I found that out last week. But what you're trying to do here is kind of gather together, take your scissors as close to the base of these leaves as you can. You're going to come in, cut those off, and then here is your harvest for that particular cut. Now I do always kind of go to the back side and make sure I didn't get any of the more yellowed ones that tend to form on the outside. But once you have these, you're going to put them in a clean container and you can wash and process those later. Once you get the hang of this, you can actually get relatively fast with it. I would say though that's probably the biggest con with this method is that it's way slower, right? You're not going to be able to just go through and chop, chop, chop. Here's my entire lettuce. So if you're on a bigger operation, I can see how the straight harvest would be a better option for you. But for us on a relatively small operation, this cut and come again method makes more sense. So in the end, I ended up with really a nice serving here of this romaine lettuce while still maintaining the plant. And this will be good to cut next week. I actually harvested off of this plant last week and you couldn't even tell. All right, let me zoom in on the lettuce itself here so you can see I did harvest off of this particular plant a week ago. I'm gonna gather these outer leaves, take my scissors, chop, chop. If you accidentally get a few extras, it's not a big deal. Gather out here. And gather over here to the side. Done. Super simple, super fast. Let me show you how it's done on a smaller head of lettuce. So on a smaller head, like a butter lettuce or an oak leaf lettuce, it's the same concept, right? I'm still going to be gathering things off to the side. I can kind of peel back a few leaves from the middle here, just so I can see what I'm doing. Once I have them pretty isolated, come in with my scissors, cut right at the base, and gather that lettuce, and it comes out very clean, ready for me to wash it and get it prepped for market. Oak leaf style is going to be easier to do this type of method with, and so if this is a method you're interested in, you may look into growing more of these loose leaf type of lettuces as opposed to the rosette that you see with the butter lettuce. The oak leaf is actually way simpler because they come out in more of strings and you can get them into that ponytail shape a little bit easier. Comes off super easy. So I can't say enough for this Salanova lettuce that we ended up purchasing this year. We got it through Johnny's Seeds. I'll kind of link them down in the description here. Salanova lettuce is really heat tolerant, and I have just been so impressed with how quickly it grows, how evenly it grows, and quite frankly, how beautiful it is. It's a wonderful type of lettuce, and they have all different styles to choose from. When you look then at what's left, you kind of have the damaged pieces down here at the bottom, which is expected. And then you have that central core where I could have even probably taken a few more leaves in. I just chose not to. This will grow back. And again, most of these were harvested last week as well, and they got back to that really full size again. So don't feel guilty if you feel like you're stripping these plants bare. They actually recover very quickly. I do try to water very thoroughly after harvesting. And if you do fertilize, that'd be a good time to do it. All right, that was a very successful harvest. We've got about 10 pounds of lettuce here available. This is gonna get washed up and go straight to the farmer's market this afternoon. Make sure you do your homework on which type of lettuce is right for you. We really do like the Salanova brand, but we are not sponsored by them. Just wanna make that clear. And do keep in mind what I mentioned earlier. It's important to harvest first thing in the morning, water really well afterwards, and I'm gonna tuck these guys in and get them covered up for the rest of the day with this 90-degree heat we have coming. Thanks so much for watching. This was Courtney from Ruby Red Farm, and I hope you all have a great day.